The thing with the Heat, everyone's been going on about the undrafted players. We've talked about it a little bit, and it feels like it's become a little bit of a tiresome topic. But what feels more interesting about them is with guys like, with Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent in particular, but I think Duncan probably fits into this. There's a few other guys in the bench fit into this. They were because they were so deep in their rotation. We talked a little bit about this with Legler. Like they were going 10, 11 deep. These guys were already. They were so with Gabe Vincent, with these two, this is actually a good stat from your boy Matt Williams. Gabe Vincent is averaging 17.7 points a game, 61% shooting. Caleb, 19.3 points a game, 63% shooting. The last pair of teammates to average 15 plus 60% field goal shooting in the conference or NBA finals were D Wade and Shaq in 2006.
Yeah.
And these are two guys off the bench who were probably not necessarily like highlighted on the scouting report going into this series, much less going into
they
the
were
playoffs.
definitely highlighted going into this series for sure. Maybe not, these guys have played a huge role in all the series.
Yeah.
I would say this. Some of this is Spoelstra. I don't think there's any question that Spoelstra right now is the number one coach in the NBA. He's the best coach in the NBA. Gets the most out of his roster. And, I didn't live in the Heat world, but I have to believe, and Duncan has, talked about this a little bit with us, but I have to believe it's similar to the experience I had at Duke, which is just basically every day is a mental challenge. And I think in a regular season, that can wear on you a little bit, where your energy is just not there. You have bad days. It's in some ways it's like being in the military, right?
Yeah.
And what that does though is it forges you. It increases your mental toughness, and that helps in the playoffs. Duncan, by the way, I give him a lot of credit, because when you talk about depth, I think it's more like they're going to play the rotation, and some guys are going in and out of the rotation. I don't think it's necessarily that they're this deep team that plays 10 or 11 guys. It's like, no, you're benched tonight. Gabe Vincent, like you were a starter, now you're coming off the bench. It's just, to me, it's just guys who are professionals and now are starring in their roles. The playmaking last night from Duncan, particularly the lob to Bam,
second quarter.
just playing off the dribble, beating Grant Williams off the dribble. But I want to say real quick with Spo that the thing that makes him so good, and we talked about this last week, game-to-game adjustments, in-game adjustments, a history of accountability. I think he's a brilliant tactician. The example, from game 2 is like, we're just going to fuck with the rhythm of the game. We're going to play man for a whole quarter. We're going to play zone for a whole quarter. We're going to play man for a whole quarter. We're going to play zone for It just fucks with you. And he's willing to think a little bit outside the box. And I hate, we've overused it. We all have, and we're guilty of this Heat culture thing. I think in general, right, if we're going to talk about what a coach has to do in the NBA, the accountability portion, that starts. Everybody wants to talk about culture, building culture. Yeah, okay. It's ideal if you have 15 guys that are wired like Tim Duncan or 15 guys that are wired like Steph Curry. That's not realistic. So unless you have one of those guys, right, the best player in the world at times, who's low maintenance, great teammate, humble, all that stuff, unless you have that, it has to start with the coach. So this whole thing with Heat culture, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, it's because of Spo.